In today's video, I'm going to show you how to set up a scalable campaign in less than 5 minutes for your direct-to-consumer brand so that you can scale profitably without spending hours inside the ad account. Now, to keep it frank, I've managed a portfolio of over 20 plus D2C brands this year so far. As far as ad spend in total, we've managed well over 5 million plus this year alone. So with that being said, this is a strategy that I've constructed and I've tested ABO testing, cost caps, big caps, lookalike audiences, having a top of funnel prospecting campaign, and then a scaling campaign, right? I've tested all these methods. What I've noticed to work the most is a campaign that's going fully broad, minimal targeting, and ultimately you're just focusing on the variables that move the needle for your business, which is better creatives, better landing pages, better offers. So with that being said, let's dive into the exact framework so that you can start making money today with the proper campaign without any ad fatigue as you spend more and more dollars. So with that being said, let's dive straight into it. So before I dive into specifics, this is the overall structure here that I want you to keep note of. It's literally, we just scale with one campaign, 3 active ad sets at the very maximum. At the campaign level, we set our budget here. So everything's in a CBO controlled environment, and Meta's machine learning platforms allocate spend to the ad set they deem is best for the end user. Now, DCT stands for Dynamic Creative Tests. This is a feature you can turn on at the ad set level with Meta. And ideally what this does is, as you can see here, we have 3 ad creatives, right? And here we have one previous ad copy, and then we have a new variation of ad copy. We have a previous best headline, and we have a new variation of headline. And then we're trying to find a combination. So instead of us trying to come up with multiple ad sets and run like 5 different manual ABO ad set testing for this specific ad creative in this scenario, in a DCT environment, Meta is actually combining and creating multiple variations of these combinations, and ultimately it's allocating spend to what they deem is best for the end user. So instead of us forcing spend, we're leveraging Meta's machine learning platform. We're using what features they have available to us to now creative test with efficiency. And in a CBO environment, majority of our budget's going to winners. This is why we have the main winning ad set. So any creative test we've done in the past, we copy that post ID and place into the main winner's ad set. So over time, the budget's going to be mainly directed towards the main winner ad set. This is going to be our strongest creatives, our strongest copy, our strongest headlines. And then from there, we're just constantly creative testing to find some new ad angles that can beat out this winning ad set. So over time, you're scaling with controllable assets, and there's going to be less instability at scale because you already have proven assets that have been known to work. So now, before we dive into specifics, this is the format you have to understand. Before we can even start running any ads, we need to know our numbers, which is unit economics. Unit economics, simply put, is just knowing your numbers, knowing, okay, what is your cost of goods? What is the cost to ship? What are your expenses? What is your net? What's your gross margin? What is your net profit after total expenses? And then ultimately, what is your break-even CPA that you have to hit in order to be at break-even on paid ads? Now, unit economics doesn't keep into account your LTV ratio, right? It's a feature you can add on here, which I highly recommend. If you know your LTV, it's very important that, okay, you want to keep track of, okay, if somebody comes into your ecosystem as a brand new customer, what is the ratio or what is the timeline from them buying back from your company, right? The last thing we want is window shoppers that A, only buy from our business when we're offering huge discounts, and B, we don't want to have lower tier customers that only buy back from our business when specific drops happen, right? We want to have customers that buy back from our business multiple parts during the year, right? Could be that they just want to buy more of the product they previously bought, or they want to try different product verticals that we have in our ecosystem with bundles. But unit economics, what we need to keep track of is, okay, what's our average order value? What's our cost of goods? What's the cost to ship / handle? If the customer pays for shipping, then you don't include this number. But here's your landed cost per AOV. Then you have your calculated gross profit, calculate gross margin, calculate break-even CPA, and then your break-even ROAS, right? So when you know these numbers, for this example sake, this specific offer or the product we're pushing, right? It's a bundle. We have our AOV of $91, the cost of goods $27, and then we're at 70% gross margin. Now, a rule of thumb, when it comes to running ads, I want to expand and increase as much gross margin as I can, right? If I can bump this up to 80%, let's do it. If I can bump this up to 90%, let's do it. But over time, I'm constantly trying to raise our AOV because we know that in a law of competition and diminishing returns, ecom is growing, more people are running ads, so then the cost to acquire a customer is going to get more and more expensive. But how do you offset that high CPA? Well, first of all, it's better creators, better landing pages, better offers. But as a byproduct as well, raising AOV can help you maintain profit. But that's all we want to know before we run ads is, okay, what are our unit economics? What is our break-even CPA? And what do I have to do in order to make a profit? Now, once we have that covered, right, we know our numbers, then we want to organize our creative testing. Now, this is a campaign structure, but most brands struggle not by having terrible offers or terrible creatives, but they lack the infrastructure to continuously test, right? Because the last thing we want to do is waste money on ads on tests that we can't gather data from, or we didn't keep track of what we're testing, right? We want to make sure anything we test has a clear hypothesis and it's tracked internally. So everybody across the board knows, okay, we've tested this angle in the past, this didn't work, but these are our winners. Let's focus on these areas of the business, right? Now, when it comes to organizing your creatives, as I showed here, for one single OG concept, we're going to have two other variations, right? So this might be a UGC ad creative that's a 45-second video. We might have a variation that's like a 35-second video, and another variation of that same creative that's going to be a 25-second video, right? In this scenario with variations, we're just split testing the time length. But over time, how can you optimize your creatives? Well, if I break a 45-second video down into like 8 segments, you can pretty much look at, okay, what's thumbs up ratio, what's a hold rate, average watch time, click the rate to conversion rate, right? Now, these are just soft metrics that gives you the idea of the story. Now, how can you replicate this? Well, you can either go one or two ways when it comes to creative testing and expanding the funnel, right? You can either go up the vertical. So for example, let's say this angle was the gifting bundle, right? We're gifting this for our family or buy this for your loved one, right? Then we can now go a step further and go up the vertical where when with this angle, this is more focused towards women. Now you can add a different variation of ad creative or angle that's gifting bundle, but it's like, okay, instead of focusing on women, now we focus on men, or we focus on like a family or these kind of elements to it. We're just changing the ideal customer profile. But it's the product's the same, but it's just switching the ICP, that's vertically scaling up. If you want to horizontally expand, well, then what will you do in this scenario is simply just test different ad angles completely. But to separate it and put it in layman's terms, we have our angles, which is, okay, who are we targeting and how are we going to target these people? That is what the angle is. From there, you have concepts. Now, concepts are how are we going to portray the following angle covered to get the end user to stop scrolling to make a purchase. So concepts are simply put the type of video, right? Is it going to be a static image? Is it going to be an animated GIF? Is it user-generated content? What is the concept we're trying to portray for the angle we're trying to test? And then from there, we go a step further and it's like, okay, how can we create variations? Well, we can add a spin or a different type of hook or copy or utilize common slang, but we're just changing either a time variable if it comes to like UGC when it comes to variations, or we're split testing like different copy in the headline or different copy in the call to action, or maybe split testing the offer, right? Those are what variations I like to look for and expanding further. Now, when it comes to that phase, now it's just developing ad copy with Chat GPT. But ultimately, that's the focus and that's how you scale. Now, let's put it on paper and let me break it down on how you set up these campaigns. Now, everything I do is pretty much can be replicated, but just to put in layman's terms, the way I like organizing my campaigns is pretty simple. It's my initials here. This is my company, Scale Velocity. Anybody who's managing the ad account, it's very important you just organize your initials first so that if there's a problem or there's time to expand on a specific campaign, whoever's monitoring the campaigns can look at that data and read it legibly and go to that correct individual that's managing operation. Here we have going fully broad, just denoting okay, and then we have CBO, and then here I'm optimizing for leads, but in your scenario, right, if you're a D2C brand, you're optimizing for purchases. Here I have the offer that I'm running, and then I have, okay, is it a one-step funnel? Is it a two-step funnel? What is the post-click process, right? Are we just sending them to a PDP page? I just want to make sure that's outlined before, just for organization's sake. And then here, I don't declare any categories, auction. And then here, in this scenario, like I said before, I'm optimizing for leads, but in your scenario, you might optimize for purchases. Now, Advantage Campaign Budget Plus, this is just simply put CBO, and I just turn this on. So the budget's set at the campaign level. And at the very minimum, the ad budget I want to spend per day is $100. Based off your unit economics, you just have to figure out, okay, how many purchases do I need to make at $100 spend to be at break even, right? Which is maybe you need 4 purchases, maybe you need 7 purchases to be at break even. Who knows? It's all about your unit economics. Now, that's just a campaign setup. If I look at this one single campaign, I look at, okay, the ad sets, how do we display that? Well, as I covered before, in a single time, we're only going to have a maximum of 3 active ad sets. So we're going to have our main winners ad set. We might have 2 other DCTs that we're trying to test for different creative angles, right? But it's very important. At a very maximum, we have 3 ad sets, nothing more. And ultimately, you can just only run 1 DCT at a time if you don't have enough creatives to test, right? I just want to say, don't do anything more than 3 ad sets, because then it gets a bit complicated, and you need more spend to distribute and give enough testing to each allocated ad set. But that being said, let's dive into it. Now, how do I break down a DCT? What is a DCT? What does that look like? Now, a DCT, as I covered, stands for Dynamic Creative Test, and I organize it by the number. I say, okay, we're targeting USA, whatever country we're focusing on. 18 plus. This is more for me. I like it's like a short form video. For you, you could say UGC, static, or GIF. Here I have male and female, and of course I'm optimizing for a lead, and I'm sending them directly to my to my website. Performance goal: maximize number of conversions. Here I have my main pixel set up. Conversion events for somebody to book a call, but in your scenario, it's to complete a purchase. And then the click-through window. So common knowledge, 7-day click, 1-day views, ideal pixel setting. But if you want more accurate data, well, the more you spend, ideally 1-day click, 1-day views is going to give you the most efficient. But you need to you'd be spending at least over like $1,500 a day in ad spend to get through that phase of, okay, you're going to get past 7 conversions in a single day. Based off your unit economics, right? You want to optimize for getting out the learning phase. But that's, if you're spending, let's say, less than like $1,500 or like $2,000 a day, just keep it 7-day click, 1-day view, because ultimately you might not get 7 conversions in a single day, right? Just depends on your unit economics and historic data. Now, in this feature here, dynamic creative, I have this on, and this is, as mentioned, Meta's automatically generating combinations optimized for our audience with variations that may include different formats, templates, or audio elements, right? So instead of us manually forcing spin across multiple ad sets, dynamic creative allows us to be more efficient with our budget, as Meta is already testing different variations for us. Now we have our start date. I just let this run. I don't have an end date. Just let this run. From there, I'm not using Advantage Plus. I'm just using the basic old school Meta audience. It's just 18 plus, 65 plus. I'm literally just text United States. That's the location. No targeting whatsoever. Have all my placements recommended by the Advantage Plus placements, and that's pretty much it on a DCT level of what that looks like. But if I want to go a step further, this is what like the main winners ad set looks like. It's just I'm copying the post IDs from our DCT. Now let's dive a step further and let's look at specifically DCTs. So now on the ad level, we have, okay, the angle, whatever it's combination. And then here, as you can see, we have 3 variations of the same specific ad creative or the ad angle, and we have long form copy here. Now, when it comes to developing ad copy, it really depends on what's been proven to work for you. But using ChatGPT and using prompts can be the most effective way to create multiple variations. And it's like, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're just trying to create very fast variations that are not too much involved or didn't have huge changes, right? We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here, but also we're not trying to start from we're not trying to test a ton of different new verticals, right? We want to make sure that we're just making a slight tweak to what's proven to work. So in this scenario here, the way I use ChatGPT is pretty simple. I just outline the prompt. As you can see here, I say, okay, today we're going to be focusing on creating 2 headlines, 2 bodies of ad copy for our Facebook ad campaign. And just for this example, I said the product we're selling is a yoga mat. So just common knowledge with ChatGPT, the more specific you are within your prompt and your questioning, well, then the more specific and high quality answer you'll get back. But for this time's sake, this is literally all you need to do to come up with a decent ad copy. And then from there, you just keep refining it. So what I would do in this instance is, okay, I would say break this down by 3 areas: headline, body, call to action. And then from there, ChatGPT is going to give me response. And then from there, I'll say, okay, now I'll reorganize this and formulate it by using emojis. So let me type this in right now. Format the and then we'll see once this and then from there we just say, okay, let's use some emojis. And then here I just in the body of the meta ad campaign, I would just organize this to fit the emoji, but literally I can just copy and paste this word for word, place it into the ad copy, and then from there we have ad copy just built out in a matter of just a couple of seconds by just you can just follow my prompt exactly, and this is ideally what you'll get. And then from there, the more specific with your prompts, well, then that's your baseline to make changes. But that's how you set up your campaign in like less than 5 minutes. It's creative assets, you know your numbers, and then from there, you just set up, put them in the campaign level, and you just come up with copy for ChatGPT, and then from there, you just have your active campaigns. Now, how do I scale? When do I scale? Right? Well, it's pretty simple. When you're at $100 per day, you're trying to get out of the learning phase, right? How do you get out of the learning phase? Well, you need 7 conversions every single day for the next 7 days to get out of the learning phase. You can look it up on Meta. That's just common knowledge. Now, when it comes to scaling, let's say I have my break-even CPA is $25, right? So then I need to get less than $25 to make a profit or do be profitable on the first order purchase. Now, let's say my average cost to acquire a brand new customer is $15, right? I have that margin to where I'm constantly getting purchases at that dollar mark. And for this example's sake, from there, what I can do now is just start to increase the budget once I get consistent sales. And I know, okay, if my CPA is at $18 and I'm within profit, okay, let's see how far we can push. So now I might go a step further. I might go from $100 in daily ad spend to now bump it up by $50. So I go from $100 to $150 and I let that run for maybe 2 days, right? If performance maintains, then I bump it up another $50, right? I'm just increasing the budget by increments and making sure my target CPA is consistent and my AOV is consistent, right? And that's how you scale. It's just you increase your budget by small percentages over time so that A, you get out of the learning phase with enough budget, but B, also, you're not trying to re-enter the learning phase by scaling dramatically, right? I've done it before where I bump up a budget, I scale dramatically, and the results suffer the next day. We want to create longevity. So we do that by increasing the budget by 5%. So my focus is, okay, if you're at $100 in daily spend, get to $500 in daily spend as fast as possible, where you could be maybe every other day increasing budget by $50 to $100. But once you get to that $500 ad budget mark per day, you only need to increase your budget by 5% or decrease your budget by 5% if your target CPA isn't met for a certain amount of periods of time, right? And then from there, you just keep messing with the budget till you get stability. And then from there, you're constantly just testing new creatives, new offers, so on and so forth. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was a huge breakdown on just how to set up your campaigns in less than 5 minutes with all the steps necessary so that you can acquire first order profit for your brand using meta ads. With that being said, if you're looking to expedite this process and you want to be set up for success so that you can exit your company one day, feel free to check out my website down below. It is scalevelocity.io, where you can check out our protocol that I've built out across the board that allows me to help D2C founders get to capital efficiency so that, let's say they do want to exit in 3 to 4 years, they have everything set up internally, profitable unit economics, high LTV, and as a byproduct operations in-house so that when they do exit, they can get a 6 to 12x multiple higher than some other D2C brands. So if that's of interest, feel free to book in a call down below. And with that being said, you can also check out some of our recent case studies and testimonials. But if there's any questions, drop them down below, but I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.